I swear to you, Rick, I don't keep updating the open. It's because frickin' YouTube, copyright infringements every time. I mix my own music, I bring my own graphics, copyright infringement. Anyways, that is Riku Mukherjee. I'm Tony Altieri. This is the 5 of 6 Golf Podcast, and we are here talking the Farmers Insurance Open roadshow for me, Rick. I am in Florida. It is, late night over here, broadcasting from the good old Embassy Suites. But you, my friend, are back in Southern California, where we're going to see some pretty damn good golf played Wednesday through Saturday this week.
Yeah, they don't want to compete with the championship games on Sunday, so we're going to roll a little early, Wednesday to Saturday. I honestly really like it. I wish it was like this throughout the entirety of football season, to be completely honest with you. I kind of hate having the final round of golf kind of collide with football on Sundays, but they do it this week. I wish they did it during the swing season also, but yeah, man, I'm excited. It's right down the street from us, a course that we both played multiple times, so pretty excited for this week.
Yeah, it's an exciting course. For anybody that is unfamiliar with Torrey Pines, it is perennially one of the most difficult and longest courses that they play every year on the tour. It draws very good fields. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the capstone of the California swing, because we've got Pebble and obviously the Genesis Tigers event, which has become the premier event on the West Coast. But this is a venue that's hosted, U.S. Opens. Jon Rahm won that a few years ago. And we saw one of the best finishes with two of your and my all-time favorite golfers last year in this field, with Luke List taking down and sinking a putt against Will Zalatoris in OT, in extra holes.
Yeah, I was there. I watched the heartbreak happen in real time. I had a huge Zalatoris ticket, had no money on Luke List whatsoever, and he just came up and broke my heart that day. I was following around Will Z the whole day, kind of talking to other people through chat to see what was going on ahead of me, what was going on behind me, because I think Will Z played in the next to last group, and yeah, it was not fun. It was they played the playoff in the dark basically, and Luke List basically stole it away from Will Z. He should have won his first event at that event last year, but I think he's going to do it this year. We'll see. He's my boy this week.
Yeah, Will Z is going to be a popular pick. Before we get into it, I do want to remind everybody, join the Discord. The link is down in the description. You can click that. Keep the chat going 24/7, 365. Rick and I are very active on there. There's also a great little one and done competition that's grown out of this. We have our creators one and done for me, you, Jake, Mike, and Chris. And then we have a larger one and done pool that you can still jump into. It's still early. We're only one event through Amex. And so there's still time. If you want to join, hop into the Discord, send us a message, shoot Rick and I an email. We'd be happy to let you partake in that. And with all that being said, I guess we'd be remiss if we didn't at least acknowledge Jon Rahm, 2 wins in a row. The guy is inarguably the hottest man on the planet. He's won 4 out of the last 5 tournaments. And now we find ourselves going to a place where he is inarguably the horse for this course. This is his place. He loves playing here. Torrey and Jon Rahm go together. He's won a major here. Again, he won in his very first showing here at this course. And, priced appropriately with DraftKings at 11,000. He is the betting favorite at 4.5 to 1, depending on where you're looking. I guess the big question, and I might as well throw it out there right now, is do you take Jon Rahm or do you just choose to fade him? The guy is playing out of his mind right now.
I would probably say, I don't know, man. Tough call, I think. I mean, it kind of depends on ownership, to be honest with you. The price point is huge, 11,600. But before we get into all that, how did you do last week? Did you hit anything bets wise or DraftKings, anything like that? How did it go with the American Express?
Yeah, I use the Amex and the Sony as kind of proving grounds for my methods to see if I'm hitting. I've really tried to alter my strategy that worked really well through the swing season, which was to play more game theory, pivot off guys, that are chalkier, and try and play guys in spots and hope that you pick the right lineup, the right mix of guys. And it didn't go great for me in the Amex last week. The best guy that I had pre-tournament was Taylor Montgomery, and he played well. I mean, he ended up finishing 3rd or 4th in the tournament, but never really was tasting any smoke. That was Rahm. But, well, who was the kid that he was beating here? I get the kid from last week and this week mixed up.
Thompson.
Yeah, Davis Thompson played phenomenally. I mean, he went shot for shot with Rahm the entire tournament. I kept waiting for him to wilt, and he never did. I think I bet every other guy within 5 strokes of Jon Rahm live at like huge odds, and it was just for nothing. You know what I mean? Rahm, it was his tournament to lose, and he won it. Played great, and that's all it was. It wasn't a great for me. Didn't hit a winner. And DraftKings, I basically broke even. So I'm looking to try and make some hay this week. What about you?
So bets wise, I came close. I had a Chris Kirk ticket. He finished tied for third. That was the only one that I had like really like in contention. The only other one I really had like in the top 20 was Sung Jae. But he was never really in contention to win. But I didn't place any live bets or anything like that. I just kind of had my pre-tournament bets, and the only ticket that I had was Chris Kirk. That was kind of there on Sunday. He was within a shot or two of the lead like the whole day basically, but couldn't really get it going on the back nine. So I didn't really cash anything there. I had a good DraftKings week, surprisingly. I made one lineup last week in DraftKings, and it was a 4 of 6, and I cashed everywhere. It was ridiculous. Like I had a 4 of 6 with Jon Rahm, Cantlay, Chris Kirk, and Ben Griffin, who got really hot over the weekend. And with the 4 of 6, I cashed in every GPP. I won all my cash games, surprisingly. So I'll take it. I think for me, it was Rahm and Kirk that really anchored my lineups, and I did well in DraftKings. So I made some profit in DraftKings, and didn't hit any bets. So overall, positive week, and ready to move on to Torrey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and jump into it. We've got Torrey Pines. We mentioned it. It's long. It's difficult. It plays as one of the tougher tracks. Key stats this week when I ran the model, and just coincidentally looking at my model from last week at the Amex, 20 of my top 25 ended up making the tournament. 10 of those guys ended up inside the top 20. So feel pretty good about, the methodology and the way things are working. So I'm excited to see what ends up happening with this week's model. So we'll go ahead and give it a run, but jumping right to the top of the board, all of the guys above $9,000, you can see we've got kind of a condensed ownership piece here, but Jon Rahm, 11.6, $1,100 more than the next closest guy, which is Tony Finau. I mentioned it to you before we jumped on the show, but I want to talk directly about it right now. I feel like no one's going to own Hideki, and Justin Thomas is going to come in way lower owned than he typically does. Do either of those guys strike a chord? Do you find interesting this week?
JT a little bit, not Hideki. I can't get there with him right now, man. $9,000 seems pretty steep for him. He's just not playing up to what we have seen Hideki play in the past when he's Hideki. And typically in the old days, a $9,000 Hideki, I would be all over it, but not for me. I need to see it from him. I need to see some consistency out of him. Justin Thomas hasn't been playing great recently. His history at this course is nothing to sneeze at. He has a 20th place finish last year, and then he hasn't really played this event besides that. So nothing really great there. It makes sense why they're the lowest owned in this range. The other guy coming in super low owned in this range is going to be Colin Morikawa, it seems like. He looks like he's going to be a direct pivot, sandwich pivot right between Xander and Will Z, who are both going to be pretty high owned. But yeah, it all starts at the top here. What are we going to do with Jon Rahm? I think they finally did the correct thing in pricing him appropriately here. They've been pricing him in the 10,000s for a long time now, and that was way too soft for him. And they finally gotten to a point where they priced him appropriately to his odds. He's about 4.5 to 5 to 1 to win this tournament, 11,600 on DraftKings. So I think because of that price point, in GPPs, his ownership might be down a little bit. It's definitely not going to be like 30% like it was, 35% like it was last week. And when we're looking at Fantasy National right now, it looks like Tony Finau might actually be a little bit more owned than him. I don't know if that's going to be true when we tee it up on Wednesday, but as of right now, according to what we're seeing, Tony Finau obviously has good course history here too. Has been playing great, so it makes sense why you would want the extra $1,100 to save and try to fit him into your lineups, but I don't know how you can not start a lineup with Jon Rahm. I understand the 11,600 is pretty heavy, but if you're playing a cash game lineup, you have to start with him, man. This guy's history at this tournament is just phenomenal. A third, a seventh, a second, a fifth, a win, and he's coming off of 4 wins in his last 6 starts. So it's really tough for me to fade Jon Rahm. If he's going to be lower owned than Tony Finau, I think I just have to figure out a way to get him into my lineup. But for me, man, up here, it's going to be Will Z. Will Z is my guy. Like we were just talking about, he gave me heartbreak last year. Will Z is just one of the best players on tour when it comes to tough courses. We're going to have 3 rounds at the South Course this week, which is the tougher of the 2 courses. And I can't get away from the guy who I think is the best tough course player in the world. And he's going to be an anchor in my lineups. If I make more than one lineup this week, he's probably going to be in all of them. But he'll definitely be in my single bullet. So I tried earlier fitting it in to see what it looked like if I started Rahm Will Z. It got pretty ugly in the low 7s with the guys that I saw. So I don't know if I can do that. Maybe a Will Z starting point for the lineup, and then maybe Max Homa at 9,100, who's a California guy who plays well in California on POA and stuff like that. Maybe that's more of a start that I'm looking for. But if I can figure out some guys that I like in the low 7s and high 6s, then my single bullet lineup this week's probably going to start Jon Rahm, Will Z, but we'll see what I can fit in down there. You might be able to talk me into some guys.
Yeah, it's interesting. From an ownership construction standpoint, there are so many really, really solid plays like in the $9,000 range. I have a feeling that, to your point, I think a lot of people are going to start Tony Finau and go like Finau Schauffele, Finau Zalatoris, Finau M, even Montgomery, who probably of the guys that are priced in this range is the one that maybe sticks out a little bit. I mean, he's played phenomenally, so don't get me wrong. Like, there's no reason that he shouldn't be priced in the 9Ks. But when you look at the names that he's surrounded with, he's the one guy that he sticks out like a sore thumb. Again, as a rookie last year, he played this tournament. He finished 11th. The things that you need to do really, really well, like the stats that are most correlated for success at Torrey Pines over the years, have been driving distance around the green, and then par 4 scoring in those big, long par 4s. There are a number of par 4s that are 450 to 500 yards, and he rates very, very high in all 3 of those categories. So he has the kind of game that you want. In addition to that, probably of all the guys above $9,000, and I'm just kind of thinking through in my head here and looking at the stats in Fantasy National, he probably is the best putter of every guy above $9,000, which is insane to say. I mean, Jon Rahm's been unconscious lately, but over time, Montgomery's putting splits are better than any one of these guys. And like we always talk about, like, you just need a guy to get a hot putter and he can win. Like, the splits and the differences are so small on the PGA Tour, especially when you get the elite status. Like, could this be a spot where Taylor Montgomery breaks through?
I don't know, man. That's a tall task. I mean, these are some good names right around him, all with winning equity. All of these guys that are priced around him in the 11,000s and down to Hideki are multiple winners on tour. So tough to say, man. But we've played these greens, man. They're not easy greens. These are tricky greens. Yeah. Some of the places they can put flags are little nuances in these POA greens, and especially if you're playing later in the afternoon when there's the spike marks and stuff like that throughout the week, throughout the day, it could get a little bit tricky. But if we get Taylor Montgomery on fresh greens in the morning that he can go out and hit his approaches to within 15 feet, there's no one else in this range that we're looking at right now on the screen that I would want trying to attempt that putt more than him right now. Guy is absolutely phenomenal with a flat stick. I don't really know what his putting splits are when it comes to POA and Bermuda. Maybe that's something that you have a better idea of, but I'm pretty sure he just putts well on every surface. So yeah, man, and you just can't deny what he's been doing. Like, I mean, even in big boy fields recently, like nothing but top 15, top 10 finishes, week in and week out. Guy is going to be hands down, he's going to be rookie of the year. I think I heard on a podcast earlier today that he already has more top 15 finishes this season than Cam Young had all of last season. And Cam Young was the runaway rookie of the year last year. So no doubt in my mind, he deserves to be priced in this range of what he's been doing recently. But it's just a tough click for me, man. I don't know if I can click it, especially when I like Jon Rahm and Will Z and Max Homa a little bit more than Taylor Montgomery, guys with winning upside, guys who I've seen win on tour before that I know that can win and compete in these tough courses and this tough events. So for me, it's going to be those three guys out of this entire range. Those are the three guys that I really like as far as guys that I'm going to play in my lineups: Jon Rahm, Will Z, and Max Homa. And then for me, Bubble Boy is probably going to be Xander. Xander, he came in, to the Tournament of Champions with a little bit of a back injury. He withdrew from that, but he turned it around last week. I mean, he played phenomenal last week. Back didn't look like it was it was causing him any pain or any trouble or anything like that. And we know what his history is with in Torrey Pines. He's a Torrey Pines boy. He went to Torrey Pines High School. He went to college here. He went to high school here. He's played this course a million times, and he used to really suck at this course back in the day. He used to not make the cut that much, but seems like he's turned it around. He had a runner-up finish a couple years ago. He made the cut, finished 34th last year. So, who do you like between in that just the 10K range, just Finau, Schauffele, and Morikawa? Out of those three guys, who do you like the best?
I mean, I I like Morikawa. He's just my guy. The thing is, people are going to look back at 2020 and see that he finished in 21st place. The collapse on Sunday at the Century is going to resonate with a lot of people. But like you and I, we've played this course a bunch of times. Like the first thing is you need to be in the fairway, right?
Yep.
Like you have, because if you're off the fairway, it's almost impossible to hack your way out of the rough.
Yep.
The other thing is it demands that you have very good long irons, and he is the best long iron player in the game.
Yep.
And so that's why, when I look at that, if I'm getting the highest level of Colin Morikawa on those things at a place where I believe, when you look at past winners and guys who've had success here, Will Z, Luke List, where putting is mitigated, very difficult conditions. I like Colin Morikawa in that setup. And that's not to say that, Xander or Finau aren't better. It's just me personally, I feel like I'm going to get a discount on ownership because a lot of people aren't going to remember. And again, this guy was T4 at the US Open here the year that Jon Rahm won it. So it's not like he's unfamiliar. It's not like he's had success. I like Morikawa here for those reasons. But again, I don't think, to your point, of all the topic or all the points that you made about Schauffele or even Finau. Like Finau's had an unbelievable run here, just other than the miscut he had last year. Like you can take his finishes and Jon Rahm's finishes, and it's like they look the same.
Yeah. Okay. Morikawa. You like Morikawa, huh? He looks like he's going to be definitely the lowest owned out of everyone above 10K. So might be a good pivot. Do you think he's gotten over that collapse on Sunday from the Tournament of Champions a couple weeks ago? Or do you think that's still kind of creeping in his head right now?
Here's what I would say. I think that comes into play if he's contending down the stretch. If it's Sunday and he's within 3-4 shots of the lead, or let's say he's going into Sunday with the lead, that's where I think you could see that thing pop up again in the back of his head, right?
Yeah.
I think, day 1, day 2, day 3, not an issue. You're just out there playing golf and hitting shots. But I think as you kind of come down the stretch and you see things kind of unfold on Sunday, that's where, to your point, some of that scar tissue could come into play.
Okay. Any love for Sungjae? 6th place finish.
Dude, I like Sungjae here.
Yeah.
I love, and I again, this is from a pure game theory perspective, but if you jam 3 9K guys, what's wrong with Justin Thomas, Sungjae M, and Taylor Montgomery? Just jam those 3 guys in there.
Or I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you this much. Not many people are going to be starting their lineups with those 3 guys. That's going to be very.
That's unique. What I'm saying. Or even just M, Monty, and Homa. Those 3 guys. That's Max Homa, I think, is going to be very popular this week, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. He's one of my favorite guys. But yeah, I think I kind of like that, and maybe fading the 10K altogether. It's hard to stay away from Will Z. I have that inkling in the back of my head, like you, that this may be the week that he wins this tournament. But yeah, it'll be interesting, man. I think that I just think there's a ton of options here. I really like Sungjae. There's nothing about the way that he's played recently or looking at his course history that makes me nervous. I mean, he's gotten better every time. 56th in his debut, 32nd the year after, 32nd the year after that, and then last year he finishes in sixth place. He's okay around the greens. The driver is where things can kind of go sideways, right? Like if he's not hitting the ball well off the tee, it could be trouble at this course, and that's probably the one thing that you worry about with him.
Yeah, I liked him a lot last week. He was my one and done pick last week, and he came through for me. I mean, T18, nothing great,
Yeah.
but good enough to cash a nice check. But yeah, before we move on, I did want to ask you a question quickly about the weather. So I've looked at the weather for Wednesday and Thursday. It looks like Wednesday's pretty calm all day, like nothing crazy wind wise. But on Thursday, it looks like around 10 a.m. till about 4 p.m. It looks like it's going to be pretty heavy winds, 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts, anywhere from 15 to 25 mile per hour winds. I don't know per se if there's we have some tee times, but I don't think there's like a wave advantage because there's two courses being used here. So it's not like an AM PM kind of thing that you need to worry about. But like, would you rather play the South course on Thursday when the winds are strong, or would you rather play the North course on Thursday when the winds are strong? I don't know the
Dude,
answer to that question.
here's the thing, like you and I have both played both courses. The North course is considerably easier than the South course. The South course just plays very, very long, and you've got that stretch coming down the hill. I think it's like 8 or 9 or I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a long downhill par three, and then you basically have two more holes directly into that, like into the ocean, which is typically the wind is coming in from the coast. So that makes that stretch really, really tough. Um, and I just, if you're asking me, I'd rather play the North course because it's an easier course. But to your
I
point, like I don't know if it's going to make a massive difference.
I, I honestly think I'm leaning towards that. I think I might end up trying to stack guys that play the South course the first day because if you think about it, if you're playing the South course in the strong winds on Thursday when you're trying to make a cut, things could go pretty like Ari like bad that day. Did you lose me? Can you still hear me?
Yeah,
Hello.
you're good.
Okay. For some reason I lost my screen. Hold on one second.
Yeah, your video froze, but your audio is still coming in clean.
Oh, good. Go ahead and talk for a second. I need to fix this.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I mean the issue is that the wind can be like all seaside courses, it can be a little bit funky where it's not steady. It's not like 25 miles an hour steady blowing east to west. The wind swirls, it comes in gusts, and it makes it very, very difficult to judge it. And when you start playing those holes that are on the right on the coastline, it gets ridiculously difficult. So to your point, like if you're doing DraftKings this week and you want a weather stack, I think if Thursday continues to trend like you're going to have some really, really bad weather on Thursday afternoon, that you just say, bag it. I'm going to do weather stats and I'm stacks. I'm going to play the guys on the South course for Thursday afternoon. It's one of those things like we always talk about, like finding fine edges in this. Like that's an edge you can exploit because not a lot of people are going to play that.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you just fine. It's just your
Okay,
video is frozen.
I completely lost my screen here. I'm gonna go ahead and keep going with the show. I'm gonna have to restart my computer. I'll be back in a minute. Okay.
All right, no problem, man.
Right.
It is live, so these things happen. So I'll go ahead and carry us through when we get into the second tier here. This is the 8K and above. It's headlined by recent winner Siwoo Kim. It's rounded out at the bottom by Hayden Buckley, who we saw play very, very well here in a loss to Siwoo Kim in Hawaii. There are some interesting guys that we've seen been chalky here the last couple of weeks, and guys who are trending. Former winner Luke List is also in the $8,000 range. Justin Rose playing better. Hadwin played well at the Amex. Cam Davis was everybody's favorite guy. JJ Spawn seems like he's turned a corner in terms of the quality of player that he is. Of course, Sahith Tagala, we always love Sahith on California courses, putting on POA. And then The guy that I think everybody's talking about right now, like what you do with him, is Jason Day. Jason Day, former number one player in the world, was at one point in time crowned to be the next potential Tiger Woods, the hottest player on the planet. He was winning majors, and then it just kind of went away. And he's been this weird amalgamation of like the guy who luck bags his way into stuff, hitting 50-foot putts. We even saw it last year here at Torrey Pines where he really was not striking the ball well, but he was chipping in from 50 yards off the green. He was hitting every 30-foot putt. And this is a place where he traditionally plays very, very well. Over the last 5 years, he has a third place finish, a fifth place finish, a win, and a 16th, and then, of course, one missed cut. So the question is, which version of Jason Day do we think we're going to get this year at Torrey Pines? Are we going to get the Jason Day that we've been seeing as of late, the guy that's hitting top 20s, top 25s, playing very, very well? The ball striking is back. The one area that has been drastically improved, he sits here number 2 in approach. And to me, that is always a key stat. His approach game is great. Around the green, oddly enough, has not been that good this year in comparison to the other guys in the field. Typically, a very, very stalwart stat for Jason Day, but he finds himself kind of at the back of the pack around the green, and that is extremely important here. But statistically, rates out very, very well. He's number 3 in my statistical model. And by the way, if you want the statistical model, you can go to the Discord. You can shoot us an email. We'd be happy to send you a copy of that statistical model that rates out form, course history, and of course current stats. But Jason Day sits number 3 in that. For me, it's going to be interesting because what I want to see is how ownership is going to get squeezed. Rick and I talked about it off the shoot. Everybody's going to be gravitating to guys in the 9 and 10Ks. So naturally, you're going to get an ownership squeeze here in the 8K range. What that means is we don't really know which one of these guys are going to be coming in chalky. Rick, it looks like you're back. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. My computer decided it wanted to upgrade to Windows 10 in the middle of our podcast.
Well, hey, the computer's going to do what it wants to do. It's like your wife.
I don't know.
Make decisions and go that way.
Out of nowhere, it just was like, "Oh, you're due for an upgrade. Time to upgrade your Windows." I was like, "No."
Yeah, you're not busy right now. Let's go ahead and upgrade you.
All right, where are we at? Let's talk about 8Ks. What do you like?
So I was talking about Jason Day and the fact that Jason Day is coming in at nearly 20% ownership, 18.2 calculated ownership on Fantasy National right now. What do we do with Jason Day? That's the $1 million question. Do you play him because he plays fantastic here every year? The form is great. The approach is off the charts. Like, do we jump back on Jason Day?
No.
You just hate Jason Day, which is going to make Mike very upset.
It's not that I mean, yes, I don't like Jason Day. I don't like playing Jason Day. Yes, he's playing phenomenal. He's playing good golf right now. I just cannot play a 20% Jason Day. Get out of here. Why in the world would I ever do that? That's just not in my DNA to do that. I'd much rather pivot to like Sahith or Matt McNeely or Cam Davis right below him. There's just no way that I'm going to get to a 20% Jason Day, especially in GPPs. I can see how you could be interested in playing him in like a cash game lineup, but just ownership wise in GPPs, I'd much rather go down to Sahith or Maverick McNeely right below him. Siwoo, I can't really get to above him, but I do like the pivots with Mav and Sahith right below him.
Yeah, Mav McNeely, I tend to favor him on smaller courses, but the form has been great. He's got 2 top 10 finishes in his last 3 tournaments. He has a 15th, a 30th, and a 29th over the last 4 renditions of how he's played here. So, Mav at 8,600, there's some value. JJ Spawn, man, San Diego guy, he's been playing out of his mind well. And when you look at him statistically, the one area that makes me nervous for him at this course, even though this is a home game for JJ Spawn, San Diego State Aztec, friends with Xander Schauffele, lives in San Diego, played Torrey a billion times, driver distance. He does not hit the ball very far off the tee. And you got to wonder, like we talked about, it's at such a premium this week. It's such a big course. Like, does that take him out? Like, he makes the cut, but at $8,500, like, I feel like for an $8,500 guy, you're looking for more performance than make the cut and finish top 20.
Yeah, and he's never finished in the top 20 at this course ever in his career. So I just don't think I could really get to him. I do like Cam Davis's distance here. I think he fits well here. He played like
Yep.
crap last week, man. Like he had, I think he ended up after 3 rounds was like -1 on those 3 easy tracks, and he just did not play good golf last week. So I'm thinking maybe a little bit of a bounce back this week for Cam Davis. It looks like he has okay course history here. He's never missed the cut in the last 5 years, but he's never finished better than 32nd. So that's a little worrisome, but can't deny that he's been playing good golf in the swing season and stuff like that. So um, overall, I think for me in the 8K range, I think my favorite play is probably going to be Maverick McNeely. He's been playing good golf. He's a West Coast guy. He's a California guy. He's a POA guy. So I think he's going to be my favorite play here. I have to ask you about, we're not, I know we both hate Jason Day. We both hate Justin Rose, but Justin Rose?
Dude, I mean, you know this, and Mike knows this very, very well. I had a Justin Rose problem for like 4 or 5 years. Like it almost cost me like my marriage and my house. Like it was that bad. But yeah, I mean, he's playing. To your point, he's playing very, very well. He finished sixth here last year when he was not playing well.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Like I just the
He's
hard
he's
part for
won
me is
he's
the
won
same
he's won here
reason.
before. He's won here before.
Yeah, this is of course the thing for me is the same point that you made about Jason Day when I said, "Can you play at 20% on Jason Day?" You're like, "Hell no!" Like I'm not going to go there. And Justin Rose at 12% when he's been kind of like 3 to 5% for the last 8 months.
Mhm.
Like I don't think I can get there because of the ownership. Like I'd rather go to Luke List right below him at like 10%, or even up to like Keegan Bradley at 7% ownership. Like I just Justin Rose, the range of outcomes are so variable for him. Like he's just as likely to finish top 10 as he is to miss the cut. And I can't get there with him at 8,100.
I think this range is going to be pretty overlooked, to be completely honest with you. I think people are going to try to jam
I
in the
agree.
guys up top and skip this range. Besides, maybe Jason Day might be, obviously he's going to be pretty heavily owned, but it's a pretty bad range, to be honest with you. I don't really like this range that much. I mean, Hayden Buckley coming off of a runner-up finish at the Sony a couple weeks ago is a little appealing at 8,000, but I mean, Hayden Buckley has been like a 6K golfer, a low 7K golfer, like all of his career basically. So him getting a price bump to 8,000 here is a little worrisome for me. Yeah, man. I don't really play Keegan on the West Coast. He's more of a Northeast guy for me. I mean, the guys that have the best history here are Justin Rose, Luke List, and Jason Day. Like no one else has really good history here, and I really do factor in course history for Torrey. So I don't know, man. It's kind of a dead range for me, kind of a skipping kind of range possibly, especially if I'm going to start my lineups with trying to jam 2 guys in above them. So I can't really go to this range, but I don't know, man. Unless you can really convince me on somebody here besides Jason Day, I really don't know if I can click on any of these names.
Yeah, I mean, if it was for me, like the guy you mentioned, Cam Davis, like traditionally Torrey's been a place where Aussies play very, very well. Like Aussie style courses, big gum trees, eucalyptus trees, big wide open parkland style courses. That is Torrey Pines South to a T. So, you got to think that there's some familiarity with course setup and design that Cam Davis is used to seeing when he's in Australia.
Yeah.
We've seen, like I said, seen Aussies play well here over the years. The other guy that I really like here in this range, if I was to go here, and to be honest with you, that I think the ownership construction, to your point, like because guys are going to play guys in the eights the 9 and 10Ks, like this area and the high sevens are going to get absolutely skipped. So if you're looking for a place where you can pivot and gain some, I guess, ownership leverage, why would you play a chalky Jason Day? Why would you play a chalky Justin Rose? Go and grab one of these other guys like Spawn or Davis or Keegan or List and make yourself a little bit different and give yourself an opportunity in these big GPPs to get a 1v1 where you've got a guy who's low owned versus a guy who's super highly owned. So
Yeah.
I don't know. If I had to play gun to the head, 1, 2, 3 would be Davis, Spawn, Tigala for me in this range.
Okay, yeah. I'm looking at this Tagala ownership on Fantasy National, 5.6%. That is very,
Yeah.
very appealing to me for somebody that's a Southern California guy, played at Pepperdine, has played this course numerous times, I'm sure. I'm liking that. I'm liking that Sahith, man. That Sahith in GPPs. I know he's been playing okay recently, but this is the time of the year that he turned it on. Like last year, where he, I think he finished runner up at the Waste Management. He played pretty decently before that, so I'm liking the Sahith play. Now that I'm thinking about it, a direct pivot off of Jason Day, who's going to be 20% owned to 5% owned Sahith. That might be the play right there, man.
Yeah, in the key stats I identified, I'm not going to lie, he does not rate out very well in those key stats, none of them.
But he's
But
he's a good player, man. Like I trust him at a tough course. I think I trust him.
well, his POA splits, his POA putting is better than anything else. I mean,
Okay.
he gains strokes at a clip of like 2 or 3x on POA versus any other surface that he puts on. And just looking at his history here and how he did at the Farmers last time. So last time he played at the Farmers, he gained 3 tee to green. He basically was even off the tee. He gained 4 strokes on approach, which is fantastic for him. And of course, like we mentioned, putting, he gained almost 2 strokes putting. So, that POA knowledge, to your point, being a West Coast guy and playing similar grains of grass, like he just is comfortable here. So, despite the fact that statistically he may not rate out very well, to your point, this is a place where he just has good vibes.
Okay. All right, let's drop down to the sevens.
In the 7K, as we mentioned it, I think the top of this range is going to get squeezed for all the same reasons that we mentioned about the 8K guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you're going to end up is you're going to get ownership pooling kind of in that $74,000 to $7,000 range. So I think, again, if I was to gut check it, Ryan Palmer, like we talked about it, like if you're playing Jon Rahm at a course, play Ryan Palmer. And Ryan
Mm-hmm.
Palmer's history is as good as anybody's at Torrey Pines. I mean, we've seen numerous times when Rahm or anybody was in contention, Ryan Palmer was right there as well on Sunday. This is a place where he just plays well, and I think a lot of people are going to go back to him, despite the fact that he hasn't played great. So I think basically from him down is where people are going to make their plays, and so that means guys like Fowler and Detry and Stallings and Smalley and Dave, those guys above, like no one's going to own them. Like they're just not going to play them because they can't fit them in the lineups.
Yeah, I like the Ryan Palmer call. He might not be playing good or whatever, but you can't deny the course history. You can't deny that he's super long off the tee. So I don't mind the Ryan Palmer. What is his ownership looking like? Let's see here. Ryan Palmer. What is his price?
10%, he's 7,500, 9.7. So,
Okay.
he's less than Detry, who's right above him.
Yeah.
And he is less than Will Gordon. You talk about length off the tee. Will Gordon's one of the longest players on tour.
Yeah.
Will Gordon's coming in highly owned. It's funny, Aaron Rai, who I thought might be popular, even though he hasn't been playing great as of late, like 5% ownership. We watched Aaron Rai like in the thick of things down the stretch with Jason Day and, List and Zalatoris and all these guys that were making runs last year.
Yeah, he was in the final group last year with Day and
Zalatoris, right?
no, it was who was in the final group last year? It was Day, Aaron Rai, and Cameron Tringali. That was the final group.
Oh,
last
that's
year.
right. It was
Yeah.
Tringali. I totally forgot about that.
Tringali fell apart. Rai and Day were kind of in it, but the group ahead of them was Zalatoris, and then the group ahead of them was Rahm and List. So it was an interesting final 3 groups there. So yeah, I could see going back to Aaron Rai. I mean, he's been playing all right recently, right? Like he hasn't been nothing. Let's see, miscut, 61st miscuts. He's kind of been hit or miss the last like 5 times out on tour, but can't deny the 6th place finish last year. I know we were talking about it before the show, but Dean Burmester getting that Pat Mayo bump. I know he doesn't fit well in your model, but the guy just absolutely mashes it off the tee.
Number one in driving distance.
Number one in driving distance. Can't deny the fact that he hits the ball so far, which is going to be an advantage for him, especially if he plays in the wind on Thursday on the South Course.
I mean, here's the thing for me. Like I mentioned, the most correlated stats: driving distance, around the green, and then long par 4 scoring. Dude, number one in driving distance, Dean Burmeister, and then he's basically top 10, number 11 around the greens. So the guy is absolutely a wizard around the greens, and he mashes the ball off the tee.
Yeah.
So, those two things are recipes for success here. His off the tee rank, I mean, he's also strokes gained off the tees top 5. Everything else, he's kind of meh, nothing fantastic, and he's never played here. And if you look at like his recent form, I mean, there's nothing to write home about. A couple 54ths, a 32nd, a missed cut. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing that screams like, dude, he's getting ready to go on a run, other than, like I said, those key stat correlations.
Yeah, I agree. Can we go back to Davis Thompson, 7,800?
I mean, why not? I mean, if you can fit him in, like I said, like this range, the high sevens and the 8K ranges, like because of lineup construction with people doing 9 and 10K guys, like they're gonna get skipped. Like I know Taylor Pendrith missed the cut last week, but the dude finished top 20 here last year.
I think I'd rather go to Wyndham Clark at 7,900 over Taylor
Well, I
Pendrith.
mean, yeah. I mean, so here's what I would say: Buckley, Clark, Pendrith, Davis. What's the difference? Like
Right.
those guys,
Nothing.
there's no difference. They all mash the ball off the tee. They're all kind of the same kind of profile. None of those guys can putt. So it's like, pick your poison with those guys, because I think if I look at it, they're all coming in very low owned across the board compared to other guys. And I don't think it's because they're bad selections. It's just, well, actually Pendrith here, dude, Pendrith and Wyndham Clark are 12 and 11%. That is actually very surprising. Buckley at 8, and then your boy Davis Thompson at 7%, Alex Smalley 13%, Kitayama 12%. And then the other guy that surprised me is Ben Griffin. I mean, he's been playing good, so it shouldn't surprise me.
When is the Ben Griffin train going to end? That's
I don't know.
What I'm curious
Did
about.
the Ben Taylor train end last week?
The Ben Taylor train ended last week. Man, he was in my main lineup. Like he was in the 4-6 lineup that I was talking about. He was one of the guys that missed the cut. He was -8 heading into the back 9 on Saturday. So he just needed to shoot 2 under on the back at, I think he was playing La Quinta, which was an easy course. So I was like, man, he's going to easily make the cut. And then he triple bogeyed this hole, and just went drop down to -5, and that was the end of him. So one bad hole for him cost him a made cut last week. But Ben Griffin, man, I've been playing him literally every week. This guy makes the cut and is playing well every single week. When is that train going to end? I am scared it's going to end this week when I play him again.
Well, I mean, when you look at what he's been doing, right? Like how he's been getting there. Let's pull up his stats here.
This is not La Quinta. This is not Waialae. This is not Capital. This is a big boy course. And is he good enough to play a big boy course? I don't know.
Well, so here's the deal. He has gained tee to green in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight events. He's gained off the tee in 4 straight. He's gained on approach in 8 of the last 10 events. Around the green, he's been okay. The last 3, he's been losing strokes, or prior to that, he gained like 4 or 5 in a row. And then putting, like his putting has gotten hot, man. Over the last 4 tournaments, he's gained, I don't know, like 12 strokes putting versus the field. So, the kid's playing really, really well all the way around the board. And it's something that's been happening now. Like, it's not just like the last couple of tournaments. We're talking about 10 tournaments in a row where he's continued to strike the ball really, really well. And we're seeing the putter heat up, which is why we're seeing the finishes start to come through.
I'm just so scared of playing him again. Like I literally play him every single week, and I
went to Nick Hardy last week, and he took a big dump in my Cheerios. So
and I know one of these weeks he's just going to miss the cut and break my heart. But let's talk about these guys in the low 7Ks. Anybody jump out to you? Higo played well last week. Matty Schmid played well last week. Like I said, Ben Taylor was playing good until he missed the cut. Ben Ahn played well last week. Steven Yeager played well last week. Robbie Shelton played well last week. Any of these guys you're going to go to? It looks like the guy that's getting the most steam in this range is probably going to be Callum Tarrant at flat 7. Looks like he's flirting with 10% ownership. I know he mashes the ball off the tee, but any of these guys that you see from 7 to 7,200 here that is catching your eye?
I mean, so Neesmith was super popular last week. He misses the cut, and this is a course where he's, again, when I'm talking about a guy at $7,100, just make the cut.
Yeah.
Like, make the cut, play on the weekend. That's all I care about. And he's basically got 3 straight made cuts here. So, Neesmith, I could see a case for him. Um, it's just maybe Grillo. Again, he has not played this course well, and he's been terrible as
No,
of late. God,
I'm
he's
not
been bad.
I'm not going to Grillo. I'm
Yeah,
done with
why
him.
why would I even say that name,
Yeah,
Grillo?
I
He's
don't.
been dog shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I recant my previous statement.
I'm liking Robbie Shelton. I think that's a good
Dude,
play.
your boy picked him as his one and done this
Yeah,
week. Like
yeah.
Robbie has never won a tournament ever, Shelton, and he picked him as his one and done.
I mean, a 16th place finish here a couple years ago, 36th place finish here 3 years ago, 6th place finish last week, 10th place a couple weeks ago. This guy has been playing good golf. I can tell you one thing about Robbie Shelton is he does hit the ball far off the tee. He knows how to make birdies in bunches. Good course history here. I kind of like the play, 7,200. I'm actually feeling that. I like the call. I wouldn't ever take him one and
There's
done,
a
but for a DFS
yeah,
lineup, I don't
yeah.
mind it.
There's a trio of guys that I kind of like they're all $7,400. Gordon, Woodland, and Molinex all mash the ball off the tee. Gordon and Woodland have pretty good course history here. All three guys are coming in decent form. So I like those three guys at 7,400. You would think this would be a Patrick Rogers course. Like he puts amazing on POA.
He's a West
He
Coast guy,
mashes the
yeah.
ball off the tee, and he just does not play well here.
He had a 9th place finish here 3 years ago, but other than that, it's been nothing but miscuts. So yeah, pretty ugly. I want you to do me a favor, Tony. I want you to do me a favor. At some point this year, I want you to go I would say 6 straight tournaments without mentioning Gary Woodland. Just six straight tournaments. Don't click his name. Don't mention him, and I promise you, your life will be a lot better.
I have a lot of history with Gary. Like Gary, I won a U.S. Open with Gary.
You love Gary Woodland.
I do love Gary Woodland, man. I don't know, but yeah, you're right. It's just and then the other guy to throw out there just because he's a name, and when we talk about like mashing the ball off the tee, like Cam Champ 7,100, like guy's a 2 or 3 time winner on the PGA Tour, like. Cam Champ's made 2 out of 4 cuts here. He's got a top 20 in that span. Again, he has missed 3 straight cuts in a row, but $7,100. Cam Champ interesting. Bramlett right below him.
Not really. I don't know, man.
What about Lonto? $7,000. Lonto Griffin.
Yeah, he's a little interesting. I haven't seen Lonto in a while. Where's he been? He hasn't played in a long time.
Jesus, where's he from? He's like from some place, isn't he? He's like some. That's a really good statement. He's from some place. No shit.
I don't know where he's from.
Yeah, I want to. For some reason, I feel like what it is. I get him and Dylan Fratelli mixed up, and Fratelli's from like South Africa, and I think Lonto's from like Argyle, Texas, or something like that.
Lonto's American. I mean, in all honesty, if I'm gonna take a stab on somebody down here, I think I'd take a stab with Matthias Schmid at 7,000. I mean, his last 2 out of his last 3 finishes were a 6th and a 4th. Kid is I think he's 20 or 21 years old. He hits the ball really far. I like him, man. I was watching some of his play last week. They're showing him on TV a little bit. Guy has a nice swing. I kind of feel his game a little bit. So, I mean, if I'm going to take a stab on somebody, it'd probably be him. Haven't seen Johnny Vegas in a really long time either. I can't remember the last time he's been in the field, but we know that.
I thought Vegas was in the field last week.
Was he? Then I just skipped over his
name. Yeah, he missed the cut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he missed the cut last week.
Okay. Maybe that was his warm-up event. I don't know, but I don't know, but we know that he's pretty long off the tee. I don't really know, man. This lower 7K range is pretty unappealing to me. Callum Tarrant, like I said, is getting the most steam, but he doesn't appeal to me either. But maybe just take a stab with Schmid, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, Lonto, you asked me where he's been. We haven't seen him since July, and back then he was coming off 3 straight missed cuts, and then he took an extended period of time off. So I don't know if that's injury working on his months. Yeah, so that makes me say an X through Lonto Griffin.
Okay.
So maybe Bramlett right above him, who we've seen a couple of times. He's made 5 straight cuts in a row with a top 10 finish, and this is a place where he's made 3. So Bramlett at 7K, I like that. And then just from a pure upside play, even though he has not been playing very well, Lee Hodges. I like Lee Hodges. I play him a lot, but he's been pretty terrible here the last 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, he was in my lineup last week, and he did not play well. So don't think I could go back to him. It's been pretty ugly for him. So I think I'd rather go to some of these other guys in the upper 7Ks, upper 6Ks here.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird mix of 7Ks this week because we've got some guys that are normal 6K guys, and they're kind of sandwiched in here because we have such a big 6K range
Yeah.
right all below these guys, which is damn near impossible to read on the slide. But, again, if you're going to be jamming 2 10K guys or try to get 3 9K guys or a 10K, a 9K, and, a high 8K guy, like it's going to be really, really tough to not play a guy in the 6,000s. And to be honest with you, it's pretty rough down here. There's not a lot to be fired up about down in this range. So, I mean, again, I really don't have a hot take here, Rick. This is not a place where I don't know. I don't see a lot of opportunity down here in the 6Ks this week.
You mean I can't get you fired up about playing JB Holmes?
No, is JB Holmes in the field?
Yeah, he's in the field.
Oh my dude, JB Holmes always plays well. No, I take that back. He plays well here every other tournament.
Yeah, no, I was just kidding about JB Holmes. I can't click that name, even though he did make that playoff the year that Jason Day won against Alex Noren. Yeah, man, 6K is pretty ugly. I like the guys at the top, Carl Wan and Kevin Yu. Like I've been playing them recently. They've been doing okay. I don't really know how they do at a big boy course like this, but yeah, pretty ugly. The only guy that kind of appeals to me a little bit is Kevin Streelman, just because we know he's a West Coast guy, a California guy who plays well on the West Coast. 3 straight made cuts here, 4 out of the last 5 made cuts here. He has not been playing good golf recently, so don't go anything by recent form. So just based on course history, I don't mind Kevin Streelman at 6,800. Doug Gim is a little appealing here. 3 out of 4 made cuts here, including a 20th place finish a few years ago. Looking like the guy that's the most chalky here is going to be Austin Smotherman. He's flirting with 5 to 6% on Fantasy National. He had an 11th place finish here last year, which is probably the reason why he's coming in a little bit chalky. So, yeah, that's a little appealing. Other than that, man, nothing really appeals to me. Who are the guys? None of these guys even pop in your model. I mean, like usually, like in your model, we'll see a guy. Yeah. There's a guy in the 6K range that we'll see that's like in the top 20 in your model, but nothing even remotely close to that. Everyone's in the 32nd for Carl Wan, 36 for Daly. Yeah, man, nothing really popping in your model either. I don't know, man.
So just narrative based, right? Like I talked about Aussie success at this course. Cam Percy, he's an Aussie. He's got his last 2 times he's played this course. He's made the cut both times. He's really good in proximity, very good long iron player, good around the greens. And this is a course where you're going to miss a lot of greens. They're small and you have to have good touch. So Percy at 6,700 right there with Smotherman. If you want to pivot off of Smotherman, is going to be chalky.
Okay.
And then the 2 guys right above Austin Smotherman in Eric Cole and Cole Hammer. Eric Cole and Cole Hammer, yeah. Wow. Both guys have been playing pretty good.
Yeah.
Both guys have made a string of cuts in a row. Statistically, neither guy really, I guess, rings the bell in terms of what they do well in relation to the key stats, but you can't argue with results, and both guys have just been making cuts. So I like both those guys as kind of pivots off of Smotherman. Your boy Lingmerth is down here. He was everybody's favorite guy, like coming off the RSM, and he's now missed 2 straight cuts in a row.
No thanks.
Yeah. Dylon Fratelli, I mentioned him when I got him mixed up with Lonto Griffin here in a minute. He's terrible.
I'd rather go to the other Dylon right next to him, Dylon Wu.
Yeah, Dylon Wu. Yeah, Dylan Wu's right here too.
Yeah.
This is tough, dude. This is not a spicy range to be choosing from.
Pretty ugly range, to be honest, man. One thing that I realized after like thinking about this event, like I actually don't like how the fact the elevated events are going to be great and they're going to have the best players in the world, but they've really taken away from events like this where we used to get a really, really good feel, like super good feel. Like this was like the first event of the year where like Tiger would play and like we would get like a really nice field. People would want to come out. But with these elevated events, it's looking like most people are just saving up to go play the Waste Management in a couple weeks, and they're skipping this event. I don't like that.
Yeah, the Genesis and the Waste Management are going to garner a lot of play.
Yeah. And why?
So
I mean, they should. $20 million purses. Like, why shouldn't they? But just another thing that, in my opinion, that Liv has just taken away from the PGA Tour. I don't like it.
yeah, no, it's interesting because this is a place where Cam Davis, where Cam Smith usually plays,
Yeah.
and has played well. And he's of all of the guys that have made the transition over to Live, like he is the one guy in my mind that is like, damn, man, it sucks losing him because he might be, other than Jon Rahm right now, the best player in the world. Like he
Yeah.
just the last few times we've seen him play, we watched him win the Australian Open here recently, and he just looks unflappable, dude. He looks so good.
But he's so out of
And
sight, out of mind now, man. I don't even think about him anymore.
I know it is a bummer because he does he is very, very good. It's going to be interesting when we get into the majors this year, and all the majors have kind of said, "Look, we're going to let these live guys play and participate." Um, it's kind of funny because I wonder how the limited rounds, right? Because these live guys, one of the reasons they left is to go play less golf and make more money. Competitive golf at the highest level to step into a major like Augusta, like the US Open, after playing, I don't know, a tenth of the rounds that many of these other guys are going to be playing. Like, what do you expect these live guys to do in these tournaments?
Yeah, I really don't know. It's a tough call, but that's for another show. I don't really have anybody else down here, man. It's just throwing darts down here. I'm going to do my best to stay out of this range, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Like I said, if you're trying to jam a bunch of guys in the top, like you're going to have to find a guy. And like I said, I'm going to stand by the brothers Cole, Eric Cole and Cole Hammer this week. Like those will be my two guys at 6,700. If you need
Yeah,
to jam somebody in, grab those guys.
I think the one guy that I would think about playing down here if I was going to play anybody would be Austin Smotherman or maybe Kevin Streelman. But other than that, nothing really for me down here.
Yeah, it's too ugly too quick. Let's go over to the betting odds for the week. I have not placed a wager yet, Rick. It's Monday night. Usually I've got a couple in my pocket. Actually, I take that back. I do have Morikawa because it opened up my book at like 25 or 26 and immediately dropped to 18 or 19. And so I added it right there. So I have Morikawa at 18 to 1, but you can see he's already down to 15. There's so many guys below 20. Is there anybody on here where you feel like there's really good value in their number?
You would think we would get some good value with Jon Rahm at 450 to 4.5 to 1 to win.
Yeah.
So, but still, these numbers aren't great. I mean, I like Will Z. Obviously, he's going to be on my card like 15 to 1, but even that's not a great number for him. Not really, man. It's pretty ugly. Like, to be honest with you, like this betting board is not fun. Like, Vegas it seems like it's gotten pretty sharp in making these numbers. I like Max Homa at 21.
Yeah.
That 2100, that's a good number, I think. Dropping down a little bit more, List and Burmester and Buckley at 100 to 1. I think those are some good values there. We didn't even talk about him earlier, but Thomas Dietrich at 125 to 1. I kind of like that number. I think he was.
I mean, here's the thing with Dietrich is he didn't even win on the Euro Tour when he was like tearing it up. Like you got like the guy has yet to win. Yes, he's phenomenal, but it's like the joke was that he was like the Euro Tony Finau. Like he would just like top 10, top 5 every week and never contend. And I kind of feel like that's why his odds where they are. Like they're like, go ahead and bet him. He's not going to win. He's going to play good, but he's not going to win.
I like Ryan Palmer at 125 to 1. That's a nice number.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like Detry at 125 or Palmer at 125.
Yeah, I think I'd rather
like,
go with Palmer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, dude, it's tough for me. You know where I like to live is in that 20 to like 80 range. I really love to pepper the board there, but like Wyndham Clark at 60, Justin Rose at 55, like those numbers are terrible.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to bet those numbers. The only guy, and again, you mentioned he's been playing like dog crap, so I get it. Like Hideki at 33, like that just feels kind of like value there, but he's been so bad. That's probably the only one that I'm like scratching my head a little bit, like maybe Hideki at that number. Listed 100 is interesting. And God, dude, that is really it. Like I might just bet Morikawa and like Xander and just call it good. Like just 2 bets and done this week and nothing else.
Here's your bet for the week, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to take Jon Rahm and you're going to parlay him with the Niners and the Bengals to win their games this weekend, and you get that at 21-1, and that's your bet for the week. That's the only bet you should make this week.
You know it's going to be a popular double because we do have a tournament going on in Dubai.
Rory, yeah.
Yeah, Rory is the odds-on favorite in Dubai.
Yeah.
And oops, I jumped ahead here. So I think a lot of people are going to go Rahm Rory doubles and try to get like a 11, 12, 15-1, whatever the number ends up being this week. So I don't like anything. I'm hoping as the week matures, like we get some better numbers because this board is almost unbettable for me. If Will Z was at 18, I might look at it. Sungjae at 20. I mean, Sungjae and Homa, I have interest. Hideki at 33, I have interest. I've already bet Morikawa at 18. That's kind of it.
All right, we'll see. We'll put our betting card out on Discord, so look out for that. Do you have the updated standings from last week, or no? You didn't do that.
I didn't do an updated standings.
Okay,
but
so I can tell you guys after last week, Mike won the week with 134,000 with Tony Finau. I'm in second with 110,000 with Sungjae. Chris is in third with 80,400 with Siwoo. Tony firing off Patrick Cantlay with 58,400. He's tied with Jake, who took Cam Young last week. So right now, Mike's winning. Slim lead for him, but it's anyone's ball game. So we'll have the updated standings in the graphic next week. But that's the standings right now, and I'm rolling with Will Z this week.
It's a solid call. Like I think he probably has the best combination of a high floor and a decently high ceiling. Like there's in my mind, there's no question he's going to make the cut and he's going to contend. Like I just feel like he's an auto top 10. Like, and maybe that's the bet. Like you bet him at like plus 210 to top 10 this week. Will Z.
Yeah. So I'm going with Will Z. You're going with Rahm.
Yeah, I can't argue with the course history, but I'll be taking Rahm. And if he ends up flaming out this week, like I'll put a bullet in my head that I wasted him, after he's won 4 times in a row. But it is what it is. I can't. You play Rahm when you're in California. That's like the rule. You just play him. So I'm playing him.
All right. Jake and Chris are both rolling with Max Homa, and Mike is going to roll with Jason Day this week. So best of luck to you guys out there. Those are our guys this week.
I like it. I mean, if there's ever a day to play Jason Day, this is the tournament to do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's the one to burn him. Yep. So I think that's going to do it for us, Rick. Good show. A little bit over an hour. We had quite a few people on. We had some comments come through, but remember to follow us on Twitter and then join the Discord. The link will be down in the video description in the comments. Don't be afraid to leave a comment, shoot us a question. Tell us who your pick is to win this week at Torrey Pines. Rick and I are going to try to make it out to the course. The only day that I have a chance to get there is Saturday because it's the only day I'll be back in California. Have you bought tickets to go yet, Rick?
I have not, but I am going to try to go on Saturday as well. So if we go, we'll link up and meet up.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're there, shoot us a message. Let us know. We'd be happy to meet up with you on the course. Good luck to everybody this week. Rick, thanks again, man. And that is going to do it for us. Good luck, and we'll talk to you next week.